Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I've been hearing from a bunch of you that my recent videos aren't popping up in your feed the way they used to. YouTube's algorithm can be a bit moody, so the best way to make sure you never miss an upload is to turn on all notifications for the channel. Here's how to double check yours. It only takes a few seconds. On your phone, in the YouTube app, tap my channel name under any of my videos, or search for it. Just to the right of the subscribed button, you'll see a bell icon. Tap the bell and select All. That tells YouTube to ping you every time I go live or drop something new. On your desktop, within YouTube's website, head to my channel page. Hover over or click the bell icon next to the subscribed button. Choose All Notifications. Here's a pro tip. Make sure notifications are enabled on your device settings too. If they're blocked at the phone's operating system level, YouTube can't push them through. Thank you for taking a moment to do this. Your support means everything. And with the bell turned on, you'll be the first in line whenever I post. See you in the next video. My ex-husband and I share custody of our 17-year-old daughter and 15-year-old son. We divorced 12 years ago and co-parented with difficulty ever since. My ex is remarried, and there were tensions between the three of us for the majority of that time. My ex's wife came in with huge expectations of what she would be to the kids and how involved I would be, and none of it was realistic. She thought I would agree to giving my ex primary custody, and I would be a one-weekend-a-month mom. When that wasn't what happened, she expected everything mom-related to be split equally between us. So alternating Mother's Day, taking turns doing the Mother's Day events at school or activities, and even changing who was listed as their mom on certain forms. And she really believed that was something I would do and something that would cause zero problems with schools and doctors. She expected the kids to call her mom as soon as her wedding ring was on her finger, and she believed I would encourage, meaning force, them to call her mom. This was a long-standing expectation that never got met, not one time. She expected to have the same legal authority as my ex and I had, and that she would get to make certain decisions for the kids without my ex's or my input. Those being where they went to school, what doctors they saw, and what summer camps they'd go to, and for how long. She also expected to decide a religion for them. She wanted to change their last name to a hyphenated name with hers and mine and ex's. She fully expected this to happen. There was more than a year of her throwing a tantrum because I shut the idea down. My ex's wife comes from money and is used to having things her own way. So not getting her expectations met made her increasingly bitter toward me. She alienated my kids by being too pushy, controlling, and trying to change their lives to fit what she believes they should be. Case in point, she tried to fight to get them into private school and pressured them to ask me. She wanted my daughter to be in cheer and music classes up to 6 times a week, and she wanted my son in football and boxing 6 times a week. My kids weren't interested in those activities, and she brought them along multiple times and tried to make them take part. She told me that's what boys and girls did. She insulted the parents of my son's best friend and then attempted to stop all contact between the two kids. She hated me for refusing to back her up. The kids hated her for all of this. While she was thinking of them as her kids, they were wishing their dad would divorce her, and I know they asked at least twice for him to do just that. When his wife learned, she blamed me. The kids make a point of spending as little time as possible with her. They do not appreciate her, and that bothers my ex and his wife. He and I have discussed it, but he told me they should, and that I was bitter for not making them appreciate her. He said she made their lives better, no matter what the kids think or say. My ex and his wife did not have a child together until last year, and this coming Mother's Day is her first one as a mom. The day has always been a sore topic for her, because the kids are with me, and she doesn't have anyone but my ex treating her like a mom. Now she officially is one, and she believed that would mean my kids would be there for Mother's Day going forward. But they set the record straight, as did I when asked about it. Now my ex has come up with this insane idea that I should spend the day celebrating his wife and join in their Mother's Day celebrations. He said she's worth celebrating. It's her first time having her own child on Mother's Day, and our kids should be there, but won't if I'm not. I shut this idea down hard and told him I would not spend the day with his wife. He tried to turn it into a fight, but I walked away from him and have not answered his call since. He sent a few texts telling me I need to reconsider, but I ignored those as well, And then he sent his sister after me. She told me it was so petty of me to not consider meeting in the middle somewhere, and then she stated I was rude about everything. She said I was the reason the kids don't like their stepmom, and with a half-sibling now, I needed to figure it out. I walked away from her as well, but more texts from my ex followed. The only thing giving me pause is the fact that my ex's family doesn't like the new wife. So the fact ex-sister said what she did is making me question a tiny bit if I'm the a-hole. OP doesn't owe her ex's wife a single second of Mother's Day. For years, she tried to bulldoze her way into a mom role instead of building a relationship with OP's kids. And that's exactly why they keep their distance. The custody schedule is clear. Mother's Day is OP's. She can celebrate with her own child and leave OP and OP's children out of the guilt trip circus. Honestly, I suggest OP takes all of this evidence to a lawyer and change the custody agreement. She needs to be a one-weekend-a-month stepmother. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your ex waited until the last minute to demand a brand new arrangement that benefits only his wife. Tough luck. If he wanted the kids on Mother's Day, he should have negotiated that back when the divorce was finalized. A first Mother's Day doesn't magically rewrite the parenting plan or erase a decade of boundary-stomping behavior. Not the a-hole. The stepmom has treated you like a disposable placeholder, tried to rename and rebrand your children, and even expected equal legal authority over them. Actions have consequences. The kids don't feel close to her, and you understandably have no interest in playing happy families. Standing firm isn't petty. It's protecting your kids' comfort and your own sanity. Not the a-hole. Your ex can spam you with texts and send flying monkeys all he wants, but the reality doesn't change. Mother's Day belongs to the children's actual mother. You've stayed within the custody agreement. Your kids are old enough to voice their own wishes, and no amount of pressure will fix the damage his wife caused by trying to steamroll everyone. Enjoy your day. He can deal with the fallout of his own household. I, 48 male, am blessed with two healthy, smart, athletic, and hardy twin sons, Phil and Cole, 19. I also have a daughter, but she's much younger and has no role in this mess. Last year, Phil ended his long-term relationship after he found out his girlfriend Nina was cheating on him with Cole. The situation got really messy, and at one point I had to break up a fight between Phil and Cole, something I hadn't had to do since they were little kids. Phil is in university now, while Cole and Nina decided to have a gap year. Phil and Cole hadn't spoken to each other in a year. He didn't even come home for the holidays. I honestly hate this situation, but I can't do anything about it. I've got to tolerate it and hope that all of this ends well for both my sons. My wife and I visited Phil a few times in London, and he pretends that he doesn't have a brother. I understand where he's coming from, but it does bother me, to be honest. They're twins, for God's sake, and I hate to see my boys drift apart because of a girl. Nina moved in with us a few weeks ago, and upon learning about this, Phil declared that he won't come home for the summer either, and won't come along for our first post-virus vacation either, which I've been planning for months. I'm on the phone with him every few days, trying to reason with him, and here's where I might be the a-hole. At the end of our last call, I reached my breaking point and told Phil that I know he still loves Nina, but it will pass. She'll be gone in a few months, and we can all forget about her, but he can't estrange from his family and his twin. He said that he took it as admission that I favor his duck-up brother to him. I told him that's not remotely true, but before I could properly explain myself, he hung up on me. He hasn't called me since, and doesn't pick up the phone when I ring him up, so I'm starting to feel I've messed up. You're the a-hole, but don't worry. He'll be gone, hard no contact, in the next few months, and you can focus on your, also a-hole, golden child. Phil will never talk to Cole again, and good on him. It's weird that twins have different parents, but you were from Sesame Street, and Phil's dad must have been a stand-up guy. Edit. You're not just tolerating this absolute betrayal by horrible people. You let her move in. You have given your stamp of approval and alienated your decent child. Edit 2. The house doesn't belong to your 3 children, because now you only have 2, unless you're counting your future daughter-in-law. I'm kind of flabbergasted. Your son literally stole his brother's girlfriend, and you're telling him to chill? What other things have you told him to ignore that his brother has done to him over the years? Because this does not sound like a first-time thing. Also, you're the a-hole, hugely. You're the a-hole. You seriously expect anyone to believe that your household operates in such a way that Nina moved into your son's room and you had no say? If that's true, you've raised your son to be disrespectful and entitled, so it's no wonder he betrayed his brother in that way. Me, female 43, and my husband, male 45, are the biological parents of a lovely girl, 15 female. We always wanted a second child, but because of some personal problems, we were unable to. 3 years ago, we welcomed a young girl, 13 female now, in our family. There was not a single problem at that time. I think everyone was just a little stressed because it was a big change. But now there is a lot of troubles in our family. Our bio daughter has been vegan for 4 months, and we have chosen to become vegan as well to support her in her convictions, as we believe it is an important step in her adolescent life. However, this situation has created a lot of tension as our adopted daughter doesn't want to follow her sister in this journey. Our bio daughter has been pressuring us to force our adopted daughter to go vegan as well, since she doesn't want any animal product in the house. We agreed to stop buying it because it makes her sick just to know that there is some in the house. This doesn't sit well with our adopted daughter, who doesn't want to go vegan, but we already promised our bio daughter to go full vegan with her as a family. We plan to force everyone to eat vegan from now on, as our daughter's well-being is the most important thing to us. We hope that this tension disappears with time, but if it doesn't, we don't really know how to handle the adopted daughter. We tried to let them discuss this between girls, but it became very heated. Currently, our adopted daughter sleeps at a friend's house because she was mad at our daughter, and while she was away, we made the shift to the vegan diet. When she comes home, she will have to comply to the new diet. We spoke with some friends, and their reactions were mixed. Some supporting us while others found it unnecessary. Would we be the a-holes if we forced her to go vegan to maintain the peace in our family? You would be the a-hole. What your daughter, adopted or not, eats is entirely up to her. You are clearly favoring one daughter over the other, and the fact that she's adopted shouldn't even have been mentioned. How many more times, I wonder, have you put the bio kid first without caring a whit about what the other child thinks? Bio kid is going to end up one of those obnoxious holier-than-thou vegans that everyone hates, and adopted daughter is going to end up going no contact with you when she's grown. I'm not honestly sure if you even care, though. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole, honestly. As much as I understand wanting to support your biological daughter, she also needs to learn to cope with others and when things don't go entirely her way. What happens when she goes to college and ends up with a carnivorous roommate? Hi there. I'm a bit older than you and your husband, and I feel like you should know that so you don't dismiss the opinions here as the opinions of children. You're the a-hole. What makes your bio daughter's food preference more important than your other daughter? The last thing your younger daughter needs is yet another reason to feel different, left out, weird, not accepted, and not good enough. I, 69 female, have 2 kids, Jessica 36 and Jeremy 30. Growing up, Jess worked hard in school and got good grades. She earned a big scholarship and worked hard to cover the rest of her tuition so she could graduate from college debt-free. Jeremy did not work as hard. He partied more. Jess never drank or did D in high school, and his grades were mediocre. He got into a good college, but did not earn any merit scholarships. He had to take out some small loans. I covered his tuition and paid off his loan so he could also graduate debt-free. Since Jess graduated, she's worked consistently at several different jobs. She lived overseas briefly and is now settled in a small town in the Midwest. She has a stable, somewhat low-paying job. She's always been very good with money, sticking to a budget and saving regularly. I don't worry about her financially. A few years ago, she wanted to go back to school and took some classes, but then dropped out because it was too expensive. She still occasionally talks about wanting to get another degree, but hasn't applied or anything. Jeremy has had a much harder time. He's not good with money, always spends whatever he has, and more. He loves expensive clothes and sneakers, always has the newest iPhone. He struggled to find a stable job. A couple years ago, he borrowed several $1,000s from my husband and I to do a certification program for better prospects. He did well, but it still took him a while to find a good job. Finally, he found a great job. It pays almost 3 times what Jess makes. However, he's still struggling. He has a large credit card debt and still owes me what he borrowed for his certification. He has finally started making a few payments to me. He lives in an expensive city, so his rent and expenses are high. He works remotely, so he rented an office space to be able to focus and be more productive. Here's where Jess thinks I'm the a-hole. I've always paid Jeremy's cell phone bill. For a long time, I was afraid if I stopped, he wouldn't have a phone, and I wouldn't know where he was or if he was homeless. I've also given or lent him money whenever he's needed it over the years he wasn't working consistently. Now that he has a high-paying job, Jess thinks I should stop paying for his phone and Netflix. I don't think it's any of her business how much money I give her brother. She says that I favor him over her, which isn't true. I help each of my kids based on their needs, instead of trying to be perfectly equal. I have helped her out in the past. When she lived overseas, I sent her expensive care packages of things she couldn't buy in her country. Also, I recently paid for a voluntary medical expense, about $500. It was non-urgent, but it will prevent more serious problems for her in the future. Even though Jeremy is making more money now, he's still not in a great financial situation, and I worry about him. Am I the a-hole for continuing to help him out in this one small way? You're the a-hole. Jeremy makes 3 times what Jessica makes, has chosen to live in an expensive city and rent office space, and you're still paying for his phone bill and his Netflix? If money is so tight, since he's working remotely, he doesn't have to live in a place where rents are so high and he can work from home instead of renting office space. He doesn't have to have the latest iPhone and expensive clothes and sneakers. How will he ever learn to manage his money if you pay his bills and bail him out? Jessica is justified in her resentment, and not treating them equally is certainly unfair to her. By the way, you say that it's not her business to know how much money you give to Jeremy, yet she knows that you pay his phone bill and Netflix. How does she know that? You're the a-hole. You are favoring your son, and you are lying to yourself. You don't even help them according to their needs. When your son needed money to improve his qualifications for his career, you gave it to him. When your daughter can't afford school to improve her career, what did you do? You recognized it, shrugged it off, and did not care. You are punishing your daughter for not being a loser like your son. Sorry, but that's the truth. You're the a-hole. You keep coddling him and giving him handouts while basically just nodding your head pleased at your daughter, while only giving her a portion of what you gave your son. And you know it. His poor choices are his own. He's rewarded for them, and she is overlooked, neglected, abandoned. My parents are divorced. I have many brothers and sisters. I am my parents' favorite child. They love all their children equally, yes, but as actual people and not just their children. They like me the most. This has almost always been the case, particularly after we all reached adulthood. I grew up with my siblings calling me the golden child. I currently have the highest education and most respected career. My parents often ask me to guide my siblings into a path similar to my own. If I receive a lecture, it's always around the fact that I'm a great influence on my siblings, and I need to do more with them. I was rarely personally in trouble as a kid, but my family does group punishments, so I had my fair share of punishments. This treatment bothered my siblings when we were younger, but we've all more or less come to terms with it. I was having a pretty stressful day at work recently and was texting my dad about it. His response was beautiful and filled with such love and pride. It made my day. So I took a screenshot and sent it to 2 of my sisters. One never responded. The other, my older sister and best friend, did. Aw, how sweet. Way better than being his biggest disappointment and failure. I was honestly taken aback. I'd never heard my father speak to her that way and hardly believed that he would. She quickly moved on to say, "We're all very proud of you, and even if it seems hard, you are strong enough. You're always the strong, smart, talented one, and Lord knows extremely focused." It felt so sad, like she wasn't angry or resentful anymore, just resigned to being the other sister. I don't know, maybe she was angry and resentful, but it just sounded so defeated. I, of course, called her, and we spoke about what my father supposedly said. As I suspected, she had paraphrased. The conversation they had was more like he was disappointed that she wasn't living up to her potential. We disconnected after about an hour on good terms. A few days later, I'm texting my dad again. I'd watched a scene of a movie. Maybe it was Fences. I don't know. And the kid was upset because he didn't think his dad liked him. So I asked my dad if he likes his kids, and then asked if he liked us equally. He didn't say yes or no. He simply specified our one-on-one relationship. I adore you. It made me happy. I was going to do the same thing I did last time, but I didn't. I instead sent it to a friend, and we spoke about the whole situation. He more or less said it was nice but unfair, and I'm kind of an a-hole for allowing favoritism. I felt badly because I love my whole family, and they love me, but there have always been preferences. Of note, these preferences didn't have blatant preferential treatment. We all got the same rewards and punishments. We grew up as a unit. Am I the a-hole for being the favorite? Edit. My sister and I regularly exchange screenshots of conversations. This one wasn't any different than the others. I called her and we spoke about her feelings on our parents' behavior, my behavior, position, hers, our siblings, how to move forward, and how it felt growing up. I don't want to edit the introduction, even though the comments have pointed out how it sounds like I'm gloating, because I think it portrays exactly how it is in my family. When I say I'm the favorite, no matter how badly it sounds or makes me out to be, I'm not being smug or lording it over my siblings when I say it in this post. OMG, why Jesus loves me more than most. You're not the a-hole for being the favorite. You're the a-hole for reveling in it and shoving it in your siblings' faces. Every word you wrote here drips with your self-satisfaction. You're the a-hole. Your behavior comes across as gloating and smug, and you come across as deeply insecure and desperately in need of your parents' praise and affirmation. Change your ways. You're the a-hole. So not only are you the favorite, you revel in it, and like to shove it in the faces of your sisters how your dad likes you so much more than them. Honestly, I'm kinda surprised they still talk to you. I have 2 daughters, April 24 and Kate 22. Kate is getting married this March. Now, none of us knew the date till we got the invitations. When April got her invitation, she called me saying that since she's due this month, she's expecting her baby, then the chance of her attending her sister's wedding is slim. It dawned on me, and we started discussing all possible scenarios, and April said that even if she gave birth a week or 2 before the wedding, then she won't be able to attend either, because she'll need time to settle and recover. I agreed with her, but was hesitant when she suggested I talk Kate into moving her wedding at least 2 months. I called Kate and told her about the conversation April and I had. I asked if she could consider moving the wedding date a couple of months, so April could attend, and she shut it down immediately. I said that her sister cares about her enough to want to be in the wedding so bad, and she should really consider because it's better to wait than have a wedding with missing family members. She said mine and April's request was unrealistic and selfish because she and her fiancé spent money on the venue, invitations, food, etc. I said I understand, but really, are those things more important than her sister's presence at the wedding? God bless them with a good relationship, and missing the wedding without a doubt will make April hurt. Kate rudely said this isn't about April, but I warned her that April might get so hurt she'd consider not letting her meet the baby once he arrives. Kate got mad and told me to stop pressuring her into doing what April wants, and told me it's her wedding and no one has the right to tell her what to do. I asked what's with this attitude, and she hung up. I tried calling her, but her fiancé asked me to stop forcing the issue and let the sisters work this out. But I think that as their mother, it's my role to navigate through their disagreements. They said I'm meddling, but I think I'm trying to work this issue out. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Are you well? What exactly are you thinking? Unless you are going to pay for a new venue and new invites, re-coordinate the wedding party, pay for any new flights for wedding party members who have booked non-refundable travel, and handle all the calls from confused attendees who get the re-invite, then no, this is not reasonable. You're the a-hole. March is next month. Either April and Kate aren't close enough that Kate didn't know that April was pregnant, or she knew and didn't care, or the date has been set for over 9 months, and you and April just didn't care enough to ask for details of the wedding. You cannot expect a bride and groom to reschedule their wedding, lose all the deposits on less than a month notice. You're the a-hole. Kate is right. This isn't about April. It's about Kate and her fiancé. If Kate and April have such a close relationship, then why did April call you about this and not Kate? The invitations have gone out. There's no changing the date at this point. Ultimately, this issue is between the 2 adult daughters, so you need to back off.